What is up, everybody? Thank you for tuning into the first episode of the Anti-Gravity Group podcast. My name is Braden Carlson. You probably know me from Rocket Vlogs if you're watching this, and I got a couple co-hosts here with me today, so I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and I'm not going to give anybody specific instructions, so do whatever you want in whatever order you want. Fight.
Hey, I'm Matthew Myers, also known as Macho Matt. I'm here in Olathe, Kansas. I'm one of the members of the AGG Gravity Group, the Anti-Gravity Group, that is. That's me. Who are you?
I'm Taylor Jesse, co-founder of the Anti-Gravity Group, and also have I don't know. I also own the Rocket Channel.
Dude, this is a podcast, so I'm not editing anything out unless it has to be edited out, so that's staying in.
That's good.
Oh, nice.
But so we figured we joined the podcasting nation. We actually have been talking about this for a while, and then YouTube just launched their own separate podcast dedicated upload option. We have ways to distribute it to other platforms, so we figured we might as well give it a shot. And what better way to introduce ourselves in podcast form anyway than to kind of dive into the Anti-Gravity Group lore and how this all started to begin with, because it really was mostly a joke when it was initially put together, and it's become a pretty real thing now. So
should we go back? Should we give background on our rocket history before the Anti-Gravity Group?
I think so. Yeah, we should take it all the way back and like how we met. Even though we covered it a little bit in the Punisher video, but I say we start from the very beginning and go all the way up to where we are now.
Well, like beginning of us knowing each other, or just of our rocket history.
I mean, we can do our rocket history. We gotta keep it fairly concise, I think. But
well.
All right, you go first then, Taylor.
Yeah, so I got into rocketry in about 1999 with my dad. He saw a Super Shot starter set in Kmart and said, that looks pretty darn cool. So we bought that. And I was just instantly hooked because it had the fire and smoke and parachutes and all things great. And it was a big adrenaline rush. And then I just got super obsessed. And, 20 years later, here we are. Or 23, whatever, 24. Matt, you also had a Super Shot starter set, right? Is that correct?
I did, yeah. And that was the one, that was the Super Shot, and it had the Twister, right?
Twister, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember building that, the Twister, and then shooting it off, or launching it, in my driveway at my parents' house. And I was into some of the model rockets for a bit. And at some point I would do my own scratch felt rockets with like paper, and I'd use like an Elmer's glue tip for the cone, for the nose cone. So yeah, that's did a little bit of that.
But then you took a break, right? You was just sort of something you did as a kid, and then
that was something I did as a kid. Yeah.
But you didn't get really fully into the hobby until we met, right?
I didn't know anything about high power rocketry until I met you, Taylor. And
wait, you knew about it a little bit in college, right?
A little bit, but I didn't really think about it so much. I was like, oh, that's really cool. But I think at that time I was really focused on school.
Yeah, it didn't really seem like something that was attainable, at least to your knowledge.
Right, not to a personal level. Like I saw it from like a university level. And I thought, oh, that's cool, but I didn't really know about I didn't know that just some average Joe like
you thought maybe being on the rocket team was a possibility, but not that you could go.
Yeah. You
could go to Argonia and fly big rockets yourself.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I had no idea about that. I thought maybe it would have just been like a university thing. So yeah, and then I remember I met you opening day at Worlds of Fun in 2017, and I remember we were just that was the first time we met. We parked our Subarus, and then we were talking about Subaru stuff, and then I don't know, we were just walking around the park with our friend David, and you were like, yeah, I do a lot of high power rocket stuff. And I was like, what do you mean high power rocket stuff? And then you just went on talking about you've got the rocket motors that have a lot of this is where my knowledge is a little thin, but really high power rocket motors. Clearly,
I had lots of cool rocket stuff and rocket stories that I shared. That's cool.
Yeah. You were just telling me all about this. Oh, there's a 30,000 foot. When you told me about making a minimum diameter rocket and then something that went up to 30,000 feet, I was like, oh shoot, that's crazy.
Yeah. That's shoot, indeed.
Shoot, yeah.
Shoot, I think is actually correct.
I helped you build your first rocket. What, about a year after that?
Yeah. I have it here behind me. Should I show it off?
Sure. Yeah. Why not?
Bust it out.
Here she is.
And we overbuilt that enough that it actually came in ballistic and is completely undamaged.
That's right. It's built with it was like a mailing, or no, it wasn't a mail tube. It was in the house that I was living in at the time. I had like a handrail, and one of the handrails came in like a really thick cardboard tube, and so we used that for the airframe.
Yeah,
and then
was like, I came over one day and you said, "Hey, could I make a rocket with this?" And I said, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And you're like, "What? I was just joking." And I was like, "Yeah. No, we totally could make a rocket out of it. Any tube can be a rocket."
Yeah.
Basically. I've always said that.
I think, that is definitely the case. And then we what did we do? We did 2 layers of fiberglass.
Yeah, it was way too much. But
I remember.
Well, it was right. I just let Matt choose the motor mount size, and that is where his lack of experience kind of hurt.
And I remember this was my first time too seeing somebody use fiberglass on like a hobby level too. So I remember you were just like freaking out about the curing, making sure the fiberglass all smooth.
It was a hot day, and I was going to let Matt do it himself, and then things started getting into hectic mode, and I just started to take over.
Yeah.
The epoxy started to flash, and he didn't really understand what was going on and why I was acting so insane.
Yeah, well, you're going against the clock, but ultimately, I built that rocket, and then I didn't really know what to call it or what to how to paint it and whatnot, and then I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go out and paint it red and silver. I was just like, I don't know, I just picked 2 colors, and then when I looked at the colors, I was like, oh, that reminds me of the Magnum roller coaster at Cedar Point, and then that's what I was like, oh, you know what, I have a really growing up, I had a really strong interest in roller coasters, and I still have a really strong interest. And so I went with the Magnum theme, and then that's where I ended up doing. And so I ended up taking the logo, this Magnum logo from an on-ride photo, and that's basically what I did for that rocket. And then I was kind of doing some.
And then you built more rockets, and here you are.
I built more rockets. Yeah, that's right.
So,
that's right.
The roller coaster thing we're gonna have to touch on here in a second, but just a little background. Since this is gonna be on my channel, I feel like people are more familiar and don't need too in depth. But yeah, when I was like 5 or 6, my dad and I got a baby Bertha, and my dad flew rockets when he was a kid in like the 70s and 80s and everything. So
is he cutting out, Taylor?
Yeah.
Am I? Oh well,
it'll be recording on his end. Right?
It'll be fine in post because I'm on Audacity.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah.
So
you kind of cut out there for a second.
Well, anyway,
yeah.
So built that with my dad, and I was super into it. Got an SS ARV Condor and lost the glider, and was sad about it. But a family friend gave me 2 Aerotech Mustangs and a Arcus, my first mid-power stuff. And I didn't have money to fly them, so it just kind of sat forever. But I would go to Hobbytown and look at the motors and everything like that. And I was probably in 5th grade at the time. That was when I started finding extreme rocketry copies at Hobbytown, and that's when I first really started getting into high power stuff. And it was probably the Discovery Channel rocket challenge was kind of my first exposure to it, which is interesting because Taylor was actually there for that.
That was my first big high power launch. Was that launch?
And how old? Because I would be 8. I believe I was 8 when that happened.
Yeah, so I was 9.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. But so I remember it said TVMA in the corner because Tim. And my mom didn't want me to watch it because it said TVMA in the corner, but I snuck around and watched it. yeah, so eventually got into flying mid-power stuff and was kind of doing the same thing Matt did with little rockets, but on a high-power scale. And unfortunately for the fine folks of the Rocketry Forum, I knew how to use a computer, so I posted all my imaginary projects all the time, and most of them never came to be. But the whole way that the anti-gravity groups kind of started coming together was actually because of another channel that I have where I built cars. And I don't know, you want to touch on how into that channel you were, Taylor? Because I know I'm not sure how adamant of a watcher you were, but that is ultimately
I really didn't watch it all, but I knew of it, and I did watch some videos because at the time I was watching a lot of automotive car YouTubers, and so your videos would get sent into or fed into my recommended videos. So there was a couple of them that I watched, and which was funny at first. I saw the name because at the time I think your channel was just was it called Braden Carlson?
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not the same guy, is it? Because I remember you from the Rocketry Forum.
Yeah.
And then you kind of weren't super big into rockets for a couple years. And then, or at least not on the forum and stuff.
Right.
As much. And then I was like, is that the same guy? Because I like remembered you with long hair and stuff, and then I like watched a video and I was like, it has to be. And then I think I found a video where you had some rocket stuff. You're like, oh yeah, it's my rocket stuff. And I was like, oh damn, he likes cars or whatever. And then you came to LDRS 38.
Right?
No, it was that what it was?
It was it was 38 because. So I was like not by choice not flying rockets, but it was because I was trying really hard to be a full-time YouTuber, and I didn't make any money from it. So every dollar I was spending was going into my stupid Honda builds and stuff like that. So I didn't really have rocket income, and but yeah, I decided randomly just to revive my old rocket channel, which is the one you're watching now. I've been posting on this since I was like 12, but so I got offered an L1000 demo motor. It was right after they had recalled them for Kato issues, and our local vendor was like, I mean, if you'll fly it, you can fly it. It's better than just destroying it in the ground or whatever. I was like, yeah, let's see what happens. So I made a vlog style video outlining that flight, and then I didn't really do much rocketry related on the channel, but for some reason just decided, because Argonia was always like this place I had to go, and I had gone once. It's a really cool video of my Nike smoke on Rockets Magazine YouTube channel when I went in 2012, but I decided to fly down for LDRS 38 and film it because I really missed the Rockets Magazine videos that Bob and Neil had stopped making by then, and I was like, well, I have all this camera equipment, why not give it a shot? Expecting nothing from it. I think I had like 105 subscribers at the time, and it was like all people that came over from my car channel, and lo and behold, it went pretty well. But that's not the story that we're talking about here. Ultimately, what happened was I posted a video on my Snapchat story of a Saturn V flying on an L1000.
And what's funny is I don't even know why. I just by chance, I think, started following you on Snapchat or something.
Well, I always advertised it in the car videos because that was like my one social platform that I like actually interacted with people on.
I think once I figured out it was you, I was like, oh, if there's ever like a, not that we would be at the same launch or something, but I was like, if there was some sort of rocketry overlap thing that or I saw you post rocketry stuff, I was gonna jump in there or something. But I remember sitting in the hotel the first night of LDRS. I think I was staying by myself that time, and so I was in the Cobblestone Inn in Harper, and I was just scrolling through my phone, and then I saw that, and I had no idea you were there, and I was like, oh, that is Argonia. So yeah, then I think I sent you a message after that.
Yeah, it was funny too because I had seen your car the day I got there. That was when I rented that twin turbo BMW from Turo that the guy tried to screw me over on, but we don't need to talk about that. But I saw your car and I was like, dude, who's driving this WRX? Because like, you just expect all rocket people to be, we'll just say older to be polite. But
not in the World Rally Blue WRX with the gold wheels.
Right? Yeah. It's not a typical rocket guy car, so it made sense that it was someone my age. But yeah, so then you sent me that message, so I came over, and that was the day Matt was there, I believe.
Dang it.
But yeah, so I just went over, we were chatting, and you kept asking me about all the rockets I have and have never flown, and talked about that a whole lot, and all the rockets I still have that haven't flown yet. But ultimately,
I was like, oh, so what do you have? You have this, you have that. Oh, but you haven't flown anything.
Yeah, it was kind of like you being at like every single launch when I say something and you're like, whoa, yeah, I was there for that. You're always like, I want one of these. And I was like, yeah, I have one. And you're like, have you built it? No. Or if I've built it, have you flown it? No.
Yeah.
I just like to collect kits that never got built. But ultimately...
Yeah, I got to go to all the launches that you dreamed about going to, but you have a bunch of the kits and stuff that I dreamed about. So,
like this BSD Horizon that's right off the screen?
Yeah.
The one I got for $20?
Yeah. Thanks for reminding
Pretty
me.
cool. It's a cool rocket. But anyway, I remember Matt, I don't remember what we were talking about.
That was the first big launch Matt went to also. So
yeah, that was
I'd taken him
the
to a
first,
couple like fun flies,
Pahuska,
like the small. We went to Pahuska for High Frontier, which is like
that was my first high.
It's a regional
event,
launch, not super big. And then I think we went to Cloudburst.
Which sounds right.
was pretty. It was a pretty small. It wasn't like this year's Cloudburst.
That's probably when I got my level 1. I think because I failed at High Frontier. So
he was kind of like, oh, I don't know if I want to go to LDRS. I was like, no, it's like a different level at like what essentially that launch was Airfest, but it was like a big Airfest, but
right.
I was
and
like,
that's
you don't understand. He thought it was going to be just like another like those other launches I took him to, and so
that's why I wanted to go too, because I was like, I've never been to LDRS and I haven't been to Arconia for like 6 or 7 years or something. So I was just like, you know what? And that was right after I quit my job to pursue the full-time writing and automotive journalism career. And I was like, I don't have money for this, but I'm going.
That was the Jimmy John's job?
Yeah, that's when I left officially. And then I was like, boy, this freelance writing thing doesn't pay like I thought it was going to. But I better take a trip by myself and rent a car for 5 days. So, but I don't remember what we were talking about. Probably the Magnum or maybe the Screaming Eagle.
Yeah.
It was one of Matt's rockets, and Matt said, Aero. And Taylor was like, he's not going to know what you're talking about. I was like, no, I do aerodynamics. And then that was when
which is funny because I think you were wearing a Magic Mountain shirt.
Yeah.
And we would, after talking to you for like hours, and I assumed it was just like some ironic thrift store purchase.
No.
And then you're like, oh no, I'm into coasters too.
Yeah. And as a as somebody that's really into roller coasters, when you hear somebody talk about a manufacturer of a roller coaster, you know, okay, they must know something about it, because that's not an everyday thing. So
I mean, I don't roll nearly as deep as you do, but for a long time, my dream was to get an engineering degree and go work at S&S. So
you did write letters to S&S, right? Did you say that when you were a kid?
Oh, yeah. Like asking if you could ride the demo rides and like if they had like internships. Before I was even in college, I was like, I'm dreaming up how I'm going to make this work. Yeah. Well, I just email people.
That's it's a little above what the average roller coaster consumer would be doing.
Yeah, I took I played Roller Coaster Tycoon and took it way too seriously. And I was like, well, I need to.
Yeah, we still do that.
Yeah,
we do. Yeah,
nobody else plays Roller Coaster Tycoon. It's like, oh, see, this is like their version of a coma model, and people are like, I don't know what that means. I just like want to crash the roller coasters into each other.
Yeah.
But
we talked roller coasters, right? Yeah.
So Matt, actually, why don't you tell us about the Gravity Group then?
Yeah. So the Gravity Group is you know what? I don't really know as much as Taylor probably does about it, but I mean, I know of the Gravity Group. They got started.
Okay, the Gravity Group is a roller coaster
Taylor,
manufacturer that started in probably the late 90s or early 2000s, but stems basically all wooden roller coaster manufacturers stem from like two people, and it just branches off over the years. And the Gravity Group is still around today, though, and they make some of the best wooden roller coasters. They're pretty intense, and they have a pretty cool logo.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I think the big takeaway from that was that it's the name is applicable to rockets as well.
And I mean that was my suggestion, but I think ultimately the name's credit has to go to Matt, because you gave him like all kinds of grief for naming his rockets after roller coasters, and then I was like, dude, I kind of want to name a rocket Ghost Rider now though, because that's sick. And then
that's true. And
here we are.
And I even jumped in with my my 5-inch Punisher build with the Sky Rush. So
and before that you had Millennium Force, right? Or was Sky Rush?
Yeah, that was just a retheme though. So.
You're right.
I'd already wanted to paint the rocket those colors, and so I just decided I was gonna have Braden make me that decal that got burned off.
The phrase "retheme" in its own right is a very boozy thing to
say. Yeah, you're right.
Reimagine.
But so I'm sure you guys can see why that came up. But so one day we were talking about, I think, great rockets. GRI got pitched at one point, and we were joking about it, and I said the Anti-Gravity Group, and then we were like, wow, that's actually not a bad name for like a rocket organization.
But you have to back up a little bit, because the real point that we kind of decided not the name, but that maybe the Anti-Gravity Group concept was going to be a thing was at LDRS in Bonneville. I came out there. And we were talking, and after seeing Bryce fly the Gates Brothers rockets in Porthos.
Because we had already joked about, like, oh, let's build a 12-inch Punisher. Because that was one of the first things we connected over, was Taylor had a 3-inch Punisher. I was like, oh, dude, I bought one of those because it's, like, perfect. You can ship it, or you can take it on an airplane. I could fly it anywhere.
Well, I also had the 4-inch Punisher at that point, so I was all in.
So we both had agreed that it was kind of the perfect rocket, and then we obviously were like, imagine if we're like the Gates Brothers and we built a 12-inch Punisher. And then after
that would be so dumb, we could never do that.
Well, it's really funny too, because like that's how that whole thing started, and that's also where the namesake, the Anti-Gravity Group, was kind of born. We were like, yeah, dude, it's like, it was all ironic. It was not like we were like, okay, we're establishing this persona at this time. It was just something that kind of we were jokingly calling ourselves the Anti-Gravity Group as sort of like our version of the Gates Brothers, like or, GBR, upscale rocketry.
AGG. Yeah. But we weren't really being serious about it, and I don't think we were ever really serious about it until everyone else kind of just started taking it seriously.
Yeah, like, because I designed the graphic in Photoshop, and then I was like, oh, dude, because I have a vinyl plotter, and I had some signed banner signs, so I was like, I'll make this, we can, like, hang it up on the table when we build the rocket and stuff.
That's when I knew it was serious, when you showed up with the Anti-Gravity Group vinyl.
But still, we were at that point. Nice. We weren't really advertising ourselves as the Anti-Gravity Group.
Yeah.
We were still very much like tongue in cheek.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it just like
what?
I mean, after the rocket started becoming a reality was when people started like adopting.
You should touch on the logo and everything about what you did differently, right?
It's basically the Gravity Group logo.
Right.
Yeah,
but
people already know that. That's
true. Yeah.
Match.
I think that's a cool.
Thank you, Macho Match.
You're welcome.
But, all right, well, you explain it then. Tell them what I changed.
So the G in Gravity Group normally has an arrow that points downwards, but what Braden did was he made the arrow go upwards, anti-gravity. It's pretty cool.
And then somebody immediately tagged one of... It was a co-founder of the Gravity Group, wasn't it?
No, it was... I think it was,
one of those.
Oh, was it?
I don't know. Yeah,
I thought maybe it was just someone that worked there.
An engineer or something.
Something like that. But yeah.
We're like, wow, hopefully that doesn't result in a lawsuit.
I like how it was great how it just immediately, because of Matt's roller coaster people he's friends with on Facebook, immediately gets chain tagged back to the actual to the actual Gravity Group. Sorry.
What's funny too is I don't know if I ever sent you guys this, but on one of the LDRS videos, or no, it was the Airfest video where in the intro I had like a slow motion video of our banner flying in the wind, and this guy like commented pretty angrily. He's like, "Hey, these guys just ripped off the name of this roller coaster company." I was like, "No, we didn't just steal it. It's an homage. And if any attorneys are watching, it's parody art."
Yes, exactly.
What Braden said. So
that I want to touch on because really the 12-inch Punisher is sort of what formed the Anti-Gravity Group officially, I would say. But when me and Braden were at LDRS in Bonneville, we just started talking about, completely as a joke, like 100% joking, about our 12-inch rocket that we're gonna build. You know, ha ha ha. Yeah, we're gonna build our 12-inch rocket. It's gonna be a Punisher. Yeah, like it's one of those things that to us was just a meme, and we would just, oh yeah, and we're gonna fly it on these motors and whatever. And then that kind of just built over the next like 2 months of us just leaning so far in that we're essentially planning the whole rocket as a joke.
As you're joking about.
Well, the best part...
Till suddenly we realized, wait, I think we could actually do this.
That's the funny part, is that the whole time it was a joke, because despite what people might perceive, we don't have the money to just throw around for a project like that. But we started to come to the conclusion that when you divide it by 3 and then only buy pieces of it at a time over the course of 6 months, and you don't ever take the time to actually add all the numbers up, it doesn't seem that bad.
And also very carefully pick out the materials that you use. Although, yeah, I mean, the secret is to not add it up all at one time and to not have every expense planned in advance.
Swipe your credit card and never look at the statement.
It was basically, well, if we could get these rocket motors on sale and then buy the tubes, how much would that cost? And that seemed doable. So we're like, that's basically the whole rocket. So...
Yeah, well, there was one point too, Matt, I would like for you to touch on this, where I think you had a very, probably the first time we asked for money, but I think you were a little behind on it being a joke to becoming a reality thing. So I feel like at one point you were just like, "Oh, you guys are actually being serious now."
Oh yeah, he was kind of late on like
a lot of it,
realizing we were being serious.
Yeah, I didn't really know about this. I can't recall the beginning. So
I know what he's talking about.
Yeah, can you touch on it? Because I remember.
What was the first purchase?
I think the airframes.
No.
Oh, the motors.
No.
The nose cone?
Yeah.
Oh, we don't need to get too far into that.
No, but it was in September of that year when I... 2021, right?
Yeah.
September 2021, I placed the order for the nose cone and then, asked for for reimbursement, and Matt's like, wait, is this actually happening? We're like, yeah, we were being serious for like the last month. And he's like, oh.
Okay, I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, it took a very stark transit, and then ordering all the motors was another crazy endeavor. I think, though, like, calling Tim and requesting that he order us some pre-glass 12-inch phenolic was the point where it got super, super serious.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember how much it was, but just like the tubes and couplers was like almost $1,000.
I think, yeah, with shipping and everything, I think it was like 800 something bucks.
And then I think the thing that really made it like a crazy reality in my head was when I was like, can you save on the shipping and like take the tubes to Taylor in Argonia? And he was like, I don't have any way to transport those tubes. I was like, oh yeah, this is huge.
Yeah, still I kind of forget how big the rocket is until like when we fly it and get it on the launch pad and stuff. And then we're kind of driving away and you see it out on the launch pad.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, man, that's a gigantic rocket.
We're like almost used to it at this point.
Yeah. And I think you don't really realize the scale until you try to put it together. And then you try to put it on the launch rail. You try to stand it up. I remember when we first stood it up at Taylor's place, we were all like, oh, my gosh, this is huge.
Yeah, like we all know how big it was supposed to be, and it just was like did not connect until we were actually looking at it.
It's still pretty wild when you're standing there looking up at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember at one point we were all questioning the scale of the fins though. We were like, oh wait, are those the right, does that look right? But
I were. Taylor was very confident in it.
Yeah. Taylor took his 3-inch puncture out there and was like, it should look right. It looks right.
Yeah, I was like, they look kind of small.
Sure it was right. And if
Taylor
it
was ready to throw hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you immediately started pushing blame, even though you were correct. You're like, well, you printed out the fin template. I was like, I used the measurements you gave me. And then it was all fine. That was the moment the AGG almost broke up.
Yeah, right, yeah. What else happened during that? There was the popsicle stick that broke off. It's kind of rattling around there.
Yeah, and I'd like to make a point about that real fast. Because if you guys go back and watch the construction video, we slit the airframe all the way down so we could slide the whole fin can in and glue it all together. And we filled the gaps at the back of the airframe tube with popsicle sticks and CA'd them in and then covered them up with filler to paint them. And I dropped one inside the rocket. And Taylor spent probably 20 minutes having us shift around this 12-inch rocket's fin can so that we could get the piece of popsicle stick back out. Even though my suggestion was because you could see it, we could have just glued it to the back of the ring or something. He wanted it out because he didn't want any possibility of it rattling around. It cut to a few weeks ago when we were getting it ready to fly again. And I would also like to point out that my recommendation was to glue the weld nuts to the inside of the coupler that we were using the hardware to hold together for the electronics-based separations. And he put them against it and tightened them and then glued around the outside. But I wanted glue on the surface of the actual weld nut to the coupler. And my theory was that if we didn't do that, they would break off. And then a couple weeks ago, one broke off, and the whole time we were moving it around Taylor's garage and loading it in and out of the van, you could hear the weld nut rocking and rolling inside of the fin can.
That's funny.
But it was fine because Taylor did it this time.
Okay, it's not fine, but it was fine for that launch because I didn't want to go through the effort of taking it apart just to make it not rattle.
I
have intentions to take it apart before whenever we fly it again.
It should be easy to get out though, because it'll at least be inside the coupler, not in by the fins.
Also, who knows? Those nuts could be loose on that bulk plate.
Yeah, that's true. On the backside, you mean?
No, on the bulk plate that goes on top of the coupler for the lower electronics bay.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. I thought you meant the ones on the backside could be loose, but I was like, aren't those the ones that
No,
run
no,
all the way through the fin can? But yeah,
No,
I
I
see
just
what
mean
you're
we
saying.
yeah.
You mean where the recovery stuff attaches that holds $5,000 worth of hardware at a time?
Yeah, that's right.
See if those nuts are still tight. Yeah, good idea. We should look into that.
What were some other hangups we had? I remember the
drilling 20 holes in it to try to put the camera on at the launch site.
Oh god.
Oh gosh. There's that. I remember us being concerned about the fin construction, right? At some point, like wasn't that?
Yeah, we kept
thing,
second guessing the fin construction because
yeah.
There's lots of points with that project where it was just we really didn't have the experience, or I mean, I don't know that. I mean, very few people do. I don't know, but like to what kind of forces are really involved and how strong things need to be. So we did that foam core fin to save weight because it's not a very long rocket, and then we put carbon over it. But then it's like you could still feel a little bit of flex. So we're like, should we add more laminate? And so we did. And then
we did tip to tip, and then added more carbon on top of it.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about it now.
Yeah, well, me too. After it's been drugged for like a mile and a half total, with extra 80 pounds of either end motor or dirt in it, and it was fine.
We used how much epoxy did we use again? Like a gallon?
It was a full gallon of West Systems, or maybe more.
It's hard to measure it because we had probably like half a gallon that I already had, and then we bought another quart, and then used your epoxy. Like you had you probably had half a quart, and then we bought another quart, and then we basically used all that.
2 tubs of colloidal silica. I think each fillet was like 7 pumps of West Systems.
Yeah, it was like six or 7 pumps for one fillet, like external fillet, and then
using a 2-inch inside diameter fiberglass tube to pull the fillets.
Yeah, we used what, quick epoxy for that, or it was. I remember that being a thing where it was setting up really quickly.
Well, it was just because it was hot. We did have fast setting, and we definitely shouldn't have used it in some instances where we did. But
I think it worked out nicely though. It was so hot that using fast West Systems hardener was like using 5-minute epoxy.
It was it was nice when we were like doing all the fillets around the motor tubes and everything. I do remember that, but because
we would have had to do a lot more waiting for glue to dry.
Yeah, well, but one day where you were at work, when I did one of the layers of tip to tip by myself, I used fast, and like 3/4 of the way through it, I was like, "Oh my god, I have to hurry up, or this is gonna get bad."
The couplers, that was always a pain. It's still a pain.
It's still a pain.
Talk about
giant. Huh?
Talk about sanding the nose cone shoulder coupler.
Yeah.
So before we started building the rocket, before Braden came to build the rocket, I had the airframes and nose cone a few months before, and then I made all the parts like a kit, so that when he came, we'd be ready to go and we could just blast it out. But Matt came over, and we decided we should try to fit this nose cone in one of these tubes. One, just to see, because it's probably going to look really cool, but also it's probably not going to fit very well because they weren't really the same manufacturer. And we got stuck immediately, which is a common
so many times
recurring theme. And when it gets jammed, and then you were literally spending like an hour trying to get it apart.
Trying to just oh my god, that was a good
and it's so big. You really need 3 people to put anything together on a rocket that size. Yeah. But anyway, I sanded it myself with a belt sander with 80 grit sandpaper for like 2.5-3 hours, and thought I had it good. And then when Braden came and we actually built the rocket, we went through the whole thing again, and I think Matt probably, or I don't know if I did it or Matt did it, but one of us sanded it again for another hour.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was sanding.
But it fits beautiful now.
Yeah, that's like the best fitting part.
Yeah. But it's funny because it so didn't fit. Like it was like not even close. It was like a 30-second too big, probably like oversized.
Yeah, it's not like we could sand. What I was saying, we couldn't really like sand away at the inside of the tube much because it's phenolic. It's not like a G12 tube where you can just go and go and go. So
yeah,
but yeah, so it's just a whole bunch of sanding on the nose cone shoulder. But it is now the best fitting part.
When we flew it a couple weeks ago, and we all slid the nose cone in and just gasped with I can't think of words, but we couldn't believe it. It just slid right in.
Disbelief.
The other coupler was not quite that way. Actually, I think the coupler was fine. It was the bulk plate that really messed us up.
Oh,
yeah, we definitely don't have any wiggle room on that coupler, though. Like, that thing doesn't flex at all.
But what we did learn is that having sanding drums to put in your drill is what makes the dream work, really.
Yeah. It's like a big Dremel.
Yeah.
It just eats so hard. It's like 60 grit or 40 grit.
What also makes the dream work and doesn't cause it to come in a way it shouldn't is putting the right charges on the right side.
Oh, right? Yeah. I've heard that's beneficial.
That is.
And, yeah. It was an early morning. Right.
Oh, it was actually a night.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Well,
that's
yeah,
right,
but then you did it again in the morning.
I know. I did
yeah, that's right.
It's a miracle anything worked on that because the morning we prepped it, I was having a bad morning.
He was lagging.
I didn't have enough energy drink in me.
Yeah. The funny part though was like you were so concerned over the nose cone fitment and like the chute going in, and now I'm really glad that I left all of that in the video because the whole time I'm like, it's fine. And now I look cool because I was correct.
I wasn't. Yeah, I know. It wasn't. It was funny watching your video because I wasn't concerned with the nose cone fitment, but I was really tripping on the chute.
Yeah.
And you're like, it's fine. You made it sound like you were super confident. And
I was. You did the same thing when we were putting it.
Yeah, it's because we did it before, but it was funny.
When we were putting it together by the pad, when it was still a pretty tight fit, and you were like, I don't know, and I was like, dude, it's 18 grams of black powder. I don't think this little we got it in, so that definitely means the powder can get it out. In most cases, if you have successfully ground tested in the past with that level of charge and it worked, as a disclaimer.
Do we want to talk about maybe the igniters, a change in the igniters, or that special AGG sauce?
I mean, people know it's copper thermite, but I don't know how much YouTube wants us to talk about it.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. What about?
Yeah, they're kind of weird about it.
Yeah,
and it's not. I don't know. There's really not that much to talk about because it's really just. I think people know that it didn't work the first time, and we'll just say that we used copper thermite both times, and we figured out not necessarily what the problem was, but I think we figured out how to reliably do it now. Is what the answer is for that.
Gotcha. Should we talk about the flight? the second.
Yeah, it worked.
Dude, I still can't. It for sure did the Blue Thunder scream. Did you revisit the audio, Taylor?
What's funny is it sounds different between like the cell phone video and your nice camera audio.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, but
listen to the nice camera audio on you could really hear it through my studio monitors.
Yeah, I can't hear it if I watch the video through my phone, but if I listen to it through my computer speakers, I can hear it.
It's very faint,
but it's like for a split second.
Well, I think it's just because, yeah. Well, you think about the proximity that they were in all the Gates Brothers videos, with What I should have done was put another GoPro like way closer to the pad, but still pretty far out with a proper mic on it, so we could really hear it.
I'll just say as someone that got to see, like the All Blue Thunder Gates Brothers flight.
Here we go.
You could hear it from the flight line, like it was super loud, and you can hear it on other rockets too. It just has to do with like some really high like nozzle velocity, I think, and how it interacts with each other. Because like on the big the Mega Dark Star flight, when those K-20-45s lit before the O, those screamed.
Yeah, that's true.
And I was there for that too, and you could hear that from the flight line.
Let's get a bunch of old stock L850s, and then with the Medusa nozzles, and then
that would be so cool.
Makes a funky noise when it takes off. Matt probably still is a little sore on the L850 subject.
The L850, as you were talking about it, I was like, wait a second, that sounds familiar. Yeah. That's what put my rocket into the ground. I'm just kidding. I put it.
Yeah, well, we gotta cover that on the Lost Rockets Club episode that we have planned.
Yeah.
You fortunately only have one entry into that club.
Yeah, that's true. I wish I had 0, but yeah.
Yeah. Huh, well, yeah, it went up fine.
It went up fine. I think people definitely seem to enjoy it. I think.
Wait, are you talking about your rocket or the Punisher?
The Punisher.
No, the Punisher, not my. No, my rocket was dumb. Yeah,
no,
everyone was like, "Whoa!"
It was the reaction was a whole lot better this time than all the people who I swear were like convening against us, rooting for it not to work. So,
I know.
the way people came up to us after it didn't work the first time and like offered their condolences. In some cases it was like you could tell they were like, I knew it wasn't gonna work. So
I know.
Take
it was,
that, everyone.
Which really hurt because it's like what didn't work is in none of the ways what I thought wasn't gonna work. Really, and it was really nothing that we could control. Without getting into it too much, but it's like people came up to us and said, "Yeah, well, you know, it didn't work, huh?" As if like, "Yeah, I knew it wasn't gonna work. You guys were stupid."
Well, I mean, we didn't put a 200-pound rocket in the ground,
and then suddenly everyone's a 200-pound rocket expert. Well, this is what you should have done. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Yeah,
thank you. How many 200-pound rockets have you flown? With 7 motors, 0. There were like 5 people at that launch that could have given us real advice on that. So,
and they did.
They did, and we listened to them because they have done that.
Yeah, I know it's interesting, but it's like it's not like coming from a place where we are like, well, you don't know what you're talking about because, like we said, we didn't know what we were talking about. We
felt completely unqualified, and we pretty much were to do that. So,
but now we're experts.
Too long.
Yeah, I still feel like I watched that video and it feels, or of the successful launch, and it doesn't feel real somehow.
I know
it's surreal. Well, it was super surreal being there for it.
Right.
I couldn't even hear anyone around me. I was so like locked in on it. But
dude, I know
watching the video back, it just feels surreal even in the video.
It's crazy to be like, even as I was watching it happening and like filming it, I was like, oh, I'm so glad I caught that. That was such a crazy flight that like. It's just such a ridiculous project that I had this disconnect from me being involved with it. But should we talk about the next project?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the changes we've recently made to it.
Now that we're getting close to start on it, and it's hitting me that we get to build another 16-foot tall rocket. In my head, it's a lot smaller of a project, but really it's almost the same size.
Well, I think what we should move on to is talking about our next rocket project.
Absolutely.
Isn't that insightful? And we haven't talked about it yet and had any connection issues or anything. So
yeah.
Why don't we throw it straight to Matt? Have Matt tell him exactly what we're building.
Yeah,
all
Matt.
right, what we're building here is the nose cone, right, out of a foam marshmallow, and it's gonna be powered by baking soda and vinegar. Yeah. No, wait. So 16 feet tall. It's a double Arcus. An Arcus was a sounding rocket in the 1950s that they used to see what the winds aloft
No, that's
were
the
doing.
Nike. That's the Nike smoke.
Well, but the Arcus is very similar to it. You just gotta really think about it, you know.
I thought you had like a Wikipedia article open.
Yeah,
there.
it sounded good till he hit the winds aloft bit.
You were doing good, but
Did it kill people?
No.
Okay, well that's good.
No, it was a sounding rocket from the 1950s. You got that part right.
That part was right. The original, the full scale Arcus is 4.5 inches diameter and about 7.5.
7.5.
Tall?
Yeah. I have one. You want me to measure it?
Oh yeah.
You could have one too.
I know, but I just decided not to. Yeah, so we're gonna two times it,
upscale it.
9.25, right? Well, not quite too, close enough.
Right, a little over actually. We're under promising and over delivering.
Oh, it is a little, over. It's a little over, isn't it?
Yeah. So 9.25 inch, 16 feet tall. Matt is making the nose cone all out of Connects, which is going to be great.
I thought it was marshmallows and fiberglass.
It's funny that you said foam marshmallows because
yeah, that's what I meant. I meant marshmallows in epoxy.
Well, because it will be foam.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
We're still working on the logistics of that, but we also recently made a bit of a change of plans on the motor configuration.
We originally decided that it was going to have 2 N2000s, and we thought that was the coolest thing in the world.
Till we realized how hard it is to make a 4-fin rocket with through-the-wall fins with 2 98mm rounds.
And also the tragedy of if one of those in motors did not light or by the time it got to the end of the rail.
Or at all.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So, and I don't know, more motors is just cooler.
Plus now we get another center motor for the 12-inch Punisher.
Right,
well.
which sounded really cool, especially after we just flew it, and I really want to fly. I really want to fly it again as soon as possible. But yeah, we're gonna do a central N2000, and then we'll have 654s around it, and I think we're gonna do 3 K375s and 3 K550s. Which will be
another O cluster.
Yeah, it's still a complex O, like a little bit smaller though, but it's a little bit of a smaller rocket too. So
the rocket should be quite a bit lighter, shouldn't it?
Quite a bit lighter. According to estimates with sim files and material weights and things, I think without motors it will be at or under 100 pounds. So somewhere between 85 and 100 pounds dry. Whereas the Mega Punisher was like super light for its size at I think 125 pounds ish. But
and we're also not putting 70 pounds of hardware in this one either. 70 pounds of motors and hardware anyway. So it could be like Nigel.
I mean, it's
he agrees with it.
Could you hear him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be under 150, right?
What, loaded?
Yeah. Maybe.
Nigel's arguing now.
Professional podcasting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's under 150. I'm gonna. bring it up real quick, just because
he's running the numbers, folks. Tell us what you're excited about with this project, Matt.
I'm excited to get to build the rocket again. I don't know. I'm excited to hang out with friends and build the rocket.
That's what it's all about.
I don't know much about it. Yeah, you know what? I'm excited to go out and pick some of it up, and I think we're going to be going. Yeah. To some,
I see.
Some parts. Yeah, but what did you think of that? Pick it up, like out in the field?
Yeah, I thought you meant like pick pieces up.
No. I wouldn't say that. No. I've learned not to do that.
I'm showing 130 pounds.
Ooh,
that's actually with all 6 grains, so it should be a little bit, maybe 5 pounds lighter, or I don't know, a couple pounds lighter.
Dude, 120 pounds and still like an 10,000.
And I don't have the Newton seconds here right now, but I think it's somewhere around 25,000. So it'll be kind of
that's plenty.
Maybe like a 10% O. I'm not sure what that is, but
yeah, I mean I'm with you though, Matt, especially because this one we're fiberglassing the tubes, we're making the nose cone. This is like an all-out 90s style big rocket build. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
I'm really putting all my energy into that, trying to make sure that nose cone's gonna work.
Yeah, no mashed potato nose cone.
I really want to make it before you get here, so I can make sure it's gonna work. But I know you want to be involved, so I'm gonna wait.
Dude, I'll just fly out twice, honestly. About to rack up those adventure points with Capital One. But, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a good time. And, of course, we have Shane, or Posthart, joining us for this one. He's the newest official addition to the Anti-Gravity group.
His first big project. He wasn't involved in the Punisher officially while we were building it.
He did come through when Matt couldn't be there, though, and prep for the first flight.
That's true.
When we were trying to make everything fit together, and it would have been impossible if it was just 2 of us.
It actually would have been. We would have had to call someone in.
So he was an honorary member at that point, but he became an official one when he put money down to buy the motors for the double Arcus.
And apparently he's down to put money in for Punisher flights too, but we just didn't ask him.
Yeah, we should have, I guess, because he's like, I would have done it. Well, all right, jeez. But
wasn't gonna offer, but if you guys would have asked me.
That does bring up an interesting point, though. If you're still listening to this, I commend you, first of all. But 2 different people have expressed interest in providing outboard motors for the 12-inch Punisher to fly again. And I'm just going to say what my dream flight still is, and I think is very possible. But we have a central N2000, and what I want is 6 M1315s. I want the full packed out N and 6Ms load. And we have almost enough hardware to do that now. So, and sounds like we have at least 2 M1315s, and we already have an N2000.
These are facts.
So all we need is 2 more cases and 4 more M motors.
Well, technically, me and Shane have M1315s.
That's true. Oh yeah, and Shane's not using it for his level 3. Well, I mean, technically, right now I have an M1315 that Shane paid for. If you want to get really logistically correct. But yeah, I don't know what he was planning on using it for. Some sort of celebratory flight.
He told me he didn't know. He's like, I guess he was thinking maybe his Prometheus, but
he's about to sacrifice it to a group project like I did with my M2050.
I would sacrifice mine.
Damn. So that means we have 4. That means we need 2 cases and 2 motors.
Well, I would sacrifice it if we split the cost.
I see. Yeah.
I don't know if I want to just throw it in if you guys aren't all throwing in 13, right. But I'll split the discounted cost 4 ways.
I was gonna say at that point it would just make sense for me and Matt to each buy one.
Would it? I mean, it would still be cheaper to do it the other way.
I don't know. This probably isn't the podcast related discussion. But at any rate, you guys can see the inner workings.
The inner workings of the anti-gravity group. How we make the magic happen.
At any rate, what I was getting at there was, if anybody's still listening, let me know what you guys might be interested in doing in terms of if you are at all interested in contributing to make that flight possible. I thought about making T-shirts that are like, AGG exclusive ones that all the money goes directly to funding more AGG flights and the Punisher and stuff like that. But sorry, what were you gonna say, Taylor?
Well, if for some reason someone was thinking, man, I would love to buy those guys some motors to fly that big rocket again, but I don't like their what they want to fly it on. If you're gonna buy us the motor, we might change our motor configuration. if we're rolling with some contributions, we might change our plans.
And
slightly.
while we're here, if somebody wants to pay for it to be a huge billboard and just buy us all 7 motors, we'll paint the rocket however you want. We'll put your business name on it.
We'll shine it up. Get a new paint. Get a new wrap on there.
At Apogee, we can deploy business cards.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. We'll just
biodegradable ones, of course.
Yeah, must be.
But well, I think that pretty much is going to sum it up for our first episode. We're a little over an hour now, and we're going to have to cut some of my connection issues out of there. But it is what it is. This is not any sort of a professional production. It's just our best effort at creating what could be vaguely skewed in your eyes as a professional production. But
you got a little filter before your mic, so
yeah, the pop filter, so I can go.
Yeah,
and he does it. But yeah, before we go, you guys want to plug anything? Matt, you don't have a Rocket channel yet.
Yeah, I don't have any channels yet.
Plug your Instagram, whatever you want.
Yeah. Hit me up on Facebook, Matthew August Myers. Do the roller coaster stuff,
Awesome.
I can't think of anything. Yeah.
Oh man.
Well,
is it?
What other kind of plugs are there?
Oh, no.
Anyways. Can we edit this out?
On that note, you can go subscribe to the Rocket channel if you're interested in some Rocket content, although I've been absent for a while, but we're coming back strong in the next couple weeks.
And then, you're already subscribed to my channel, or at least aware of it if you're watching this and you somehow made it all the way this far. I'd have to assume you're subscribed, but you can see behind-the-scenes content and bonus videos and stuff like that. Patreon.com/RocketVlogs. Let us know in the comments. Send an email to rocketvlogs911@gmail.com what you want to see us do with this podcast, what kind of discussions you want, and
sorry, it's funny that it's I know it's because of your birthday, but
I know
Vlogs 911 is a
that's
hilarious
why
email.
That's why everything else is 1011. I made that choice consciously a long time ago, but it wasn't available, believe it or not. So
Anyway, yeah, that's a different conversation.
So reach out to us and tell us what you'd like to see us do with the podcast. Give us some topic ideas. We already have. I think we're gonna do a $1,000 budget level 3 challenge. We're gonna each pick a motor, kit, and everything, and it has to be completely ready to go. Level 3 assembly. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do a Lost Rocket episode and maybe some other stuff. But give us some ideas if you're still here. Hit the like button, and we're going to be distributing this on iTunes and Spotify and everything as well. So find it where you find podcasts. But thank you for being here, Matt.
Yeah, thank you for including me.
Yeah, thanks for making it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for listening.
All right, we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.